I'm suffering, I'm depressed, I've gone through a loss, so what do? I go to my doctor. He writes me out a prescription, like millions of prescriptions every day that they're giving to people to alleviate the suffering.
Right.
How does that fit into this?
It fits in exactly, because even if we look upon our spiritual sadhana, the effort that we do, let's take what the word sadhana means, because sadhana is, in a sense, or the spiritual practice, is a prescription for the remedy and counteract ignorance, you might say. The word sadhana comes from the Sanskrit root sadhan. Sadhan means an instrument or a tool or a medicine. Sadhana means the way you employ the medicine, how you take it in, and really they say it's almost like a tool that you're sculpting an image of perfection. Some would say that sadhana is a medicine for alleviation. The key is that it's gradual, that like everything in life, it's not a magic potion. And so when we take a medicine, we have to be patient. Again, the Buddha said we should maybe take the Buddha and move him over here because he's very much here. Patiently persevere in the world as we're taking medicine, because the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to say the medicine's not working, and then we'll give up. This meditation we do, I know people, and even myself from time to time, been meditating for maybe now 40 years. And sometimes in meditation, we'll say, I have the same problems, some it's even worse, more intense. I thought I got rid of it 20 or 30 years ago, and now the mind is throwing up these difficulties again, so the medicine doesn't seem to be working. So how it applies to all this is we have to find a doctor we can trust. Okay? So it's interesting again, because the Mula Mantra, we're calling upon both the goddess and the father aspect of God. The two are, in a sense, two physicians, and they have specialties. This is the beautiful thing about spiritual life, that, again, your question, we'll go to a doctor to get a prescription. If we have a problem in the head, we're going to go to a neurologist. If we have an arthritic problem, we're going to go to an osteopath. So here again, why do we have a feminine and a masculine aspect of God? They have two specialties. If it's a problem, if you need strength to overcome something that seems to like an obstacle in spiritual life, the medicine now we're applying to the spiritual aspect. If you need strength and perseverance to withstand difficulties, you might be calling upon the Lord in the masculine form. But if you feel you need mercy and protection and comfort and compassion, obviously you'll turn to the feminine aspect of God. Especially, they say, the feminine aspect of God is much more approachable. As remember when we were children and we wanted something, chances are we'd get it much easily from our mother than our father. Because the father was usually saying, you don't need it, but if you nag at the mother enough, she's going to get soft and she's going to give you what you need. And so in the East and the West, they'll approach the mother. For instance, we all know in the East, the Devi temples far outnumber the temples of Sri Krishna, Shiva, and the other masculine aspects. But in the West, in the early centuries, you would find probably 20-to-1 ratio. The early churches in the first several centuries, to every church that was dedicated to Jesus, there would be nearly 20 dedicated to the Virgin, dedicated to the mother aspect. This was the early aspect of the church. In fact, of some of her names of the glorious mother, she would be called the gate of heaven. You don't get through. You don't get through her. In the West, they'll say, to Jesus through Mary. In the East, they'll say, to Shiva through Shakti. But then when you approach Shakti, it's sometimes formidable because she has this playful aspect that seems to be, in a sense, difficult to kind of like grasp, because she'll give you joy and the next time she'll rip it away, because the idea is she wants you to rely on her. So we're talking about a type of a medicine which the prescription has to do with first who you're going to approach. So it's an interesting question because it shows in spiritual life you have to employ practicality, practical approach, just like you do if you have medicine. Call upon the mother sometimes, call upon Sri Krishna, call upon the saints or Jesus or Ganesh. Why is Ganesh the remover of obstacles? Because there are obstacles. So does that help you just kind of get the idea? Mm-hmm. It's really true. This is why the masters say that prayer is literally greater than meditation. As we say that in spiritual practice, meditation is the key. Meditation is the thing which gives us contact with God. But prayer actually refines our minds. No, let me put it the other way. Meditation refines our minds and makes us receptive, so our prayer is sincere. So this is why we'll find, as we spoke last week, Sri Ramakrishna will say, if you have sincerity, you have everything. So the idea is...
It's interesting because
yes.
Rumi says, similar to what you're saying, prayer and meditation, and then he says the highest form is sobe, which is spiritual conversation.
Right.
So he takes it from meditation, prayer, meditation, and sobe, which is this.
Just literally.
S-O-H-B-T, it means spiritual conversation.
Conversation. It's a form of satsang. It's a form
in the Indian tradition.
which is really interesting. If we look upon, for instance, Patanjali and some of the great proponents of Sanatana Dharma, they'll talk about the palace of liberation. The East and West, of course, they all, and Rumi and the Sufis all give a very beautiful portrayal of what we're trying to do. But this palace of liberation literally has 4 gates. And they say that if you befriend or are able to approach through one gate, you'll become great friends in association with all the others. Now, the first 3 are really difficult. The first gate of the Palace of Liberation is Sama. Sama is that quality, complete control of the mind on all levels and at all circumstances. Complete equanimity. This is a state we're talking about, completely free of any modification, even when great loss as opposed to great elation. The next is Santosh, which is naturally in a peaceful, blissful state. To be constantly in a blissful state and have that be your natural state. Very difficult. Dhamma, which is to be unmoved by any sorrow, to be completely, in a sense, like Shiva, in the midst of all that goes on, just to be unmoved and tranquil. But the fourth is satsang, to literally get together and have this divine conversation, because it happens on many levels. What we're doing now, we're gathered together in God's name, talking about aspects of the integration of human and divine life and how we might accomplish yoga, that union, but also satsang in the mind. What thoughts we keep, it should be, and we call upon God. We have this divine communication. We have this conversation, which if we maintain that, then we will get Sama, Dhamma, Santosh. All these things will come to us, literally by God contact. So this is the medicine, again, that we're trying to find to employ real God contact.